Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. We're come range, shine, or anything in between. We're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And welcome to a slower recruiting week than we've had for like the past month, because this last month has been completely bonkers. But don't misunderstand, we still have 3 commits to talk about, and that's probably this class. Outside of like maybe 1 or 2 names that come up later, we're probably done. And the only time that our ranking will go up is when these guys get reevaluated. But we got 3 commits today, a receiver and 2 defensive linemen, going in the order that they committed. The first of which is LaRon Baker from East St. Louis, a wide receiver, 5'11", listed at 170, 87 3-star on Rivals, 87 on 24/7 as well. And then ESPN does not get a vote, in my opinion. So the big thing with LaRon Baker is he will be the victim of unfair comparison simply because the Lockett twin that we were targeting decided he wanted to get playing time above all else. So he decided to commit to Old Dominion, which caused us to pivot to LaRon Baker, which, by the way, that is a crazy pivot to make, because I don't think that Jacob Lockett is bad. I don't think he's bad at all. I think he's serviceable. But LaRon Baker and Jacob Lockett are not on the same stratosphere. And I say that despite being, when LaRon Baker first committed, Connor can attest to this, which is how you know it's true, because every time that I'm not lying, I always say Connor can attest to it. We call this witnesses in the business, but I declared him as a not my guy when he first committed. But that doesn't mean that he's bad, because there have been plenty of not my guys that have A, turned out to be good, and B, are not my guys, not because I think they're cheeks, but because I think that they're just kind of fine. But that's my opener on LaRon Baker, and we can get more into the general scouting as we get deeper in. But what were your thoughts when Baker committed?
I at first was a little surprised, but I really think probably my first gut reaction there was like thinking that's confirmation that the Lockett dynasty is at the very least going on hiatus. K-State, and I like, it's like sentimentally, like it's sad, but like it's not the worst thing in the world, because I imagine that we were honest with them and said, like, you might play, but it's going to be like an uphill battle, and we're going to continue to like recruit around you. And Old Dominion probably like had a better sell on playing time than we did. And, just because he's a Lockett doesn't mean he has to go to K-State. And then also Old Dominion was willing to take his twin brother Jordan, so that's fine, I think. But LaRon Baker, he's an interesting case, because he missed most of the 2025 high school season with injury. So our most recent film on him, other than some like kind of camps that he's been in recently, it's going to be his sophomore year stuff, and there's a pretty big jump a lot of times between those 2 years, so it's tough to really gauge exactly what you're getting. But the one thing we do know we're getting with him is speed. He's very fast. It's not super easy to tell from his huddle tape, because his high school offense runs a ridiculous amount of hitches and curls and drag routes. Like, they just throw the go ball out the window like most of the time. He does get a few deep passes, but they love to go underneath with their fast players. He's got a really impressive highlight from his highlight tape at a Bixby camp in Oklahoma, where he takes a hitch route from, it's like maybe like a 7-yard hitch, and he's able to turn it into like a 40-yard touchdown or something like that, like just maneuvering and out angling a lot of other players. So he's got some after the catch ability, and like he's gonna be able to have the speed to take the top off defenses, but like he also will need to work on some of his deep route running as well. Which, to be fair, I don't think that's something he's being asked to do a lot of right now. So that's, I think, just going to be a work in progress, anyways. Because at the end of the day, for a lot of high school guys, you can ask them to try and work on various parts of their game, but they're going to have to do what their high school offense asks of them. Like we could have a 5-star quarterback committed who's like a really good passer. We want him to pass even more in game, but if they run a triple option, which would be really stupid, but if they did, then, like, what are you going to do about that? Basically, like, there's not much to say about it. It's not quite that drastic here, but Baker is really interesting, but he's also, I think, maybe the biggest unknown in this class right now. Last class, there were some guys where it's like, you can see the potential, but there's just major question marks. Like Adrian Beccabelli is, I think, the big one there. LeBron Baker's not, he's nowhere near as raw of a prospect as Adrian Beccabelli. And his ceiling's probably not quite as high as Adrian Beccabelli's, but he falls into a similar category of player, I think, in that there's still a lot of questions that we need answered on him, but the arrow, I'd say, is generally pointed upwards.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important point that you say that he missed most of his junior year, because if there's one person that would be the easiest for me to project an increase in their rating, it's going to be LeBron Baker. And the reason for that is simple. He's sitting at a mid-level to high 3-star despite being injured for pretty much all of his junior season. And the reason why I think he's going to rise is because I'm just really quickly going to read you his committable offers, really, just real quick, that he got from his sophomore year alone. K-State, who he committed to, Cincinnati, Mizzou, Michigan, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, LSU, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Indiana. All of those teams offered him as a sophomore, and there are more. I read maybe about half of the list. There are more teams that offered him just based off of that, and it helps that in those camps, he did run a 4.3, like a laser timed 4.3. So he is freakishly fast and could stand to get faster because, he's still recovering. He was either young when he ran it as a sophomore, which means he has more time to physically mature, or he ran it coming off of injury, which means theoretically he could get into like the 4.28s. I'm not projecting that, but a laser timed 4.3, either as a sophomore or coming off of injury, means that there's room to grow. So there is a lot of potential with LeBron Baker. The thing is, I just don't, with the film that we have, I don't know what other skills he has other than the fact that he's ridiculously fast. And at the college level, that's a perfectly legitimate skill set. But I always prioritize the ability to get open. All of my favorite receivers that K-State has recruited have been, first and foremost, guys who can separate, with, I guess, the exception of Maxey in this year's class. But even then, he separates enough to where he makes it work. And by the way, Maxey has another offer sheet that's like, he probably should be a 4 or 5-star. But LeBron Baker, I get it. I wouldn't even consider this to be like a flyer on someone. The pick makes sense. Like picking him up makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's not quite a flyer, like at least in the sense of like recruiting archetype. I mean, he's a flyer in terms of his speed, but like that's a different meaning of the word. But
he's also technically a flyer, and that is his high school mascot.
No kidding.
Oh. Yeah, East St. Louis Flyers.
Wow, that I would never guess. That's pretty crazy. But I don't think he's a flyer. I think a lot of times with a flyer, you're looking at someone, not only a lot of times it feels like they're kind of later in the process. You're just kind of taking a shot and seeing what happens. Like I think flyers will have more unanswered questions. And then also probably going to be someone that you're not using a lot of resources on in recruiting either. That's why I think you see that term used a lot in the draft with like late round picks, like, oh, athletic freak that never put it together, like they're taking a flyer with like their 6th round pick. But it still happens in college. Like there's plenty of guys that like just have lots of questions about their game. We need to put it together. But I don't think LeBron Baker has a low enough floor to justify calling him a flyer. Because he's got some parts of his game that I feel pretty comfortable with, like his speed, and he seems to have a pretty decent knowledge of the playbook, which you can't always guarantee with a high school receiver you have coming.
We're not going to say the name, but that is a shot at a very specific wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, but LeBron Baker, I get it. At the very least, he will be someone who can take the top off the defense, which, I mean, if his route tree is DK Metcalf's in college, which if you ever find that image, I think Brett Coleman was one of the first people to bring that image up when he was doing a draft evaluation of DK Metcalf, where DK Metcalf, 98% of his routes were slants, goes, or hitches. That was it. The rest was God knows. There's a place for that skill set. Now, granted, DK Metcalf was 6'4", but it's still it's a good complementary piece to the rest of the wide receivers, because I think that might have been the last skill set that we didn't have is 4-3, 4-2 guy, so true burner, because we have the twitchy route runner in David Rushing, we had the gadget guy in Ashton Stark, we had Alec Pierce in Brooklyn Maxey, and now we have the true speed guy. But I've warmed on the pickup. I would still classify him as not my guy, because I've seen people and I've talked to people say that LeBron Baker is their second or third favorite receiver in this class. Brooklyn Maxey's always first. I agree, but that is a bridge entirely too far for me.
Yeah, I would mostly agree with you. Yeah, I'm definitely not at a point where I would put LeBron Baker in my top 3, because I think Brooklyn Maxey is number 1. David Rushing was up there for a while. I think he might still be number 2 for me, but I really like Ashton Stark as well. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of fun athletes that we have at the receiver position. And you mentioned it earlier. I didn't say anything about it, but it just came back to me. Brooklyn Maxey's offer sheet is absolutely insane for a 3-star. He might be the most highly recruited 3-star that you're ever going to see. And he's not a 3-star guy that's just a sliver away from being a 4-star. His on-3 industry grade is 86.77 right now, and he's got an 87 grade from On3 or Rivals, then 87 from 24/7, and a 77 from ESPN. So all of these services unanimously saw him as kind of the upper tier of the middle 3-star group. So not a 4-star, but I mean his offer sheet and his film says differently. I think so. I don't know how they got to that conclusion, but I did also hear Drew Galloway, the most recent recruiting episode that he did with Bosco's Boys. He was talking about Brooklyn Maxey, I guess, was being recruited at the college level for 4 different positions. I guess he plays a lot of defense, and some of the schools I think that offered him wanted him on defense, and he made a top however many schools list and eliminated every school that wanted him on defense because he wanted to be a receiver.
Based, by the way. I was listening to that episode too, because it weirdly enough, it started out with a shout out to us, so it's full circle now.
Yes. Thank you, Bosco's Boys.
But based, getting rid of any school that said we see you as a defender, goodbye.
I mean, yeah, if he knows what he wants and he wants it that bad, then don't even entertain it, I guess, is probably the best way to go about it. and it's admittedly to our benefit. But then also the stories that Drew tells about how Brooklyn Maxey described being recruited by K State, equally funny, where he told the K State staff that he's gonna commit to Louisville, and they literally told him, "We don't care because you're going to be a Wildcat anyways." Just a very disrespectful mindset to take, or a confident mindset to take, I guess, is the more positive way to frame that. But and it came true as well. So I don't know, like the staff and their recruiting chops, it's been
It's
unbelievable.
just funny. It's just really funny. It's like, no, you're not. I'm going to commit to Louisville. Okay. I'm not going to commit to K State. Uh huh. For now. But the next commit was actually a big surprise because the momentum looked like it was going another way, but ends up slingshotting back to K State to get the commit, and that's Finn Walker from Oak Ridge, Texas, defensive lineman who is 6'7" and 260. Don't. All right, he did it. 260 pounds, and in his photos that he posted of his commitment to K State on Twitter, he looks eerily like Avery Johnson, like eerily like Avery Johnson. His on-3 photo does not give that vibe, but my comp for Finn Walker, and I told Connor this before we even started the episode. Is he the best film or is he the best player in this class? No. He's probably the one that I had the most fun watching his film, though, because it's like watching The Waterboy, where I can almost hear him screaming like that Adam Sandler that's going to be a great clip, but I can hear him yelling as soon as he just starts rushing the passer. And oh my God, he's so unbelievably strong. Technically, does he have anything? I mean, he has a rip move, I guess, and he's insanely strong. But his entire game right now is bowl over people, and that's fine. That's a skill set you can work with because he has extremely long arms. He has a very quick first step, and he is able to bully people by bowling them over. So it isn't just a strength thing. He has the skill set to develop more of a finesse pass rush move set or like a counter move, because if you listen to a lot of people, especially in NFL circles, there are people who genuinely believe that if you do not have a good bull rush, you cannot be a good NFL pass rusher. While I don't agree, it certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Finn Walker, and yeah, like for the people that follow recruiting pretty closely, this was one that everybody was indicating got away from K State, which was going to end up being a pretty rare, true recruiting loss this year, because really the only big one is Jake Narot. And I mean, that's a pretty big fish, and I'm fine swinging and missing on that with the quality of class we brought in behind him. But Finn Walker, I thoroughly enjoy his film, and I'm really excited by the potential he brings with having such a huge frame. We have a few defensive ends in this class that I think are uniquely suited to batting down passes at the line, which is a really niche inefficiency in defense to try and exploit. But I don't know. Maybe we see something there. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But I mean, yeah, he's 6'7", and he's got a really, really long wingspan. So he's going to have some advantages on inferior tackles, especially an undersized tackle. They're going to have to be really technically sound to be able to keep up with Finn Walker, because he moves pretty decently for his size. He's not like an elite athlete or something. If he was, he'd be like a 5-star recruit because of his size. But otherwise, he's a very solid defensive end. He's probably I think if you're going by the old way of classifying players, like the NCAA 14 games, like he'd be like, I think like almost the epitome of a balanced defensive end. Like he's like got power and he leans that way more so than speed, but like he still has some speed for particularly someone his size, and he moves fairly. He has some decent agility as well. But yeah, I like his use of his hands as well. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of moves right now, but like he's good at extending and utilizing his size to his advantage, because the opposite can be used just as much. Where an undersized player, if they know leverage, they can just eliminate a big player like Finn Walker if they don't have any understanding of technique. But Finn, he's a really good player, and also from his Twitter activity, seems like a like he's going to be a really great locker room presence as well. Like a wildly positive and energetic person. And yeah, you mentioned it earlier. That one picture he posted, I like. He really does look like Avery Johnson put on like 70 pounds.
I also think that it weirdly niche prediction. Finn Walker is going to get a celebration penalty at some point in his K-State career. Either that, or he's going to like Myles Garrett someone, rip their helmet off and try to kill someone, because he will be the team crash out. That you can take to the bank, but that's not a bad thing.
I mean, you gotta have one, and it helps if it's someone that's like kind of scary looking. And Finn Walker is like tall enough to where he can accomplish that, I think. So like I'm all for Finn Walker taking that mantle from I think it was Ryan Davis previously in an unofficial capacity at least. But
it was Ryan Davis and Jack Fabris tied for team crash out last year.
Okay, so there's one mantle free then for Finn Walker to take on. So I'm good with that.
Jack Fabris might just be a psycho because he goes to football practices, then goes to ROTC and runs like 2 miles. I think
you're right, man. Like, some guys are just wired a little funny. I think that might be Jack Fabris.
He is wired differently, one might say.
Yeah, like gyms have those motivational things like pain is just weakness leaving the body, and most people understand it's like a metaphorical thing, but I don't think Jack got past the like initial interpretation, and it's just a he's an originalist, I guess, when it comes to gym motivation phrases.
He never got past reading the word pain, so he just saw pain and then like a smiley face next to it, and he's like, oh okay, yeah, that makes sense.
He's a pain. I agree.
I agree. But the final of the commits is Jalen Price, also from Cedar Hill, Texas, who is a teammate of Jerron Allen, I want to say. Yes, which, first off, what the hell? That's the second time like this year that we have teammates on a team in their defensive line that's like, that's just not fair.
Yeah. Oh, and then Bryson Dossett and Logan Davis are teammates currently as well. So a lot of overlap there.
It's a weird factoid where we have 3 sets of teammates. I guarantee, I would bet just about anything that's the only time that's happened, where we've had 3 teammates in the same recruiting class, or 3 sets of teammates, 6 total in the same recruiting class.
Almost certainly in the modern era. Like, I'm sure you could go back to like, I don't know, like the 20s when like recruiting consisted of like driving to like a local high school and asking the head coach, which of your boys are fit for our varsity squad, and the coach just like lobs like 5 farm kids his way. It's like, okay, you're playing football now. Like, so probably sometime back then, I bet that happened. But modern era, I can't think of it. It's rare to even get like one set of teammates in the same class. So,
yeah, but Jalen Price, 6'5", 235, edge rusher, and I do mean edge rusher. He will be a pass rusher at K-State. One of the best first steps and get-offs that I've seen from a recruit from K-State. It's up there with, I want to say it's tied, if not a little better, than Jordan Allen's first step coming out of high school. And he had a really damn good first step. And yeah, that Jalen Price right now is a pure pass rusher. And I think it is fascinating that if you look at how this defensive line class is structured, you can see the formation of two different lines, one for run stopping downs and the other for pass rushing. And that is basically the correct way to build a defensive line. If you can't have guys that can do everything exceedingly well, you get two sets of guys that excel in their one area and then just bring in the other for their certain situation. And Jalen Price, as a pass rusher, is an amazing finesse rusher who has decent enough power for where he's at. He puts on more weight and hopefully doesn't lose that first step, which it'd be hard for him to because of the way he structures his stance. But yeah, true pass rusher, originally a Baylor commit, which Baylor can still recruit defenders. It's a shame that their defensive system is a nightmare and a half to learn, which is why their defense has fallen off as of late. But they can still recruit individual defenders really well. And Jalen Price, to me, is going to be like a wide 9 or outside the tackle pass rusher right out the box. And I think that he'd get a couple sacks that way. Obviously, I'd prefer to let him wait and develop, and I'm not going to put unrealistic expectations on him. But out the box, he could be a serviceable third down pass rusher. Going up against the run might not be there, might be a little too light in the ass, and really will just focus on pass rushing. But hey, people get paid millions upon millions of dollars just to rush the passer. It's one of the most important skill sets on the field.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a lot said about Jalen Price and the idea that he's kind of like close to maxing out his abilities. And whether that's true or not, I still think he's a really quality ad. It's always nice to get not quite a flip, but a guy that was committed to another Power 4 school, especially a school that we were pretty familiar with. But and then yeah, like I like his ability in pass rush. He has some really good reps there. He moves very well too. He's another really big player. I think that kind of got lost with Finn Walker being such a big player, but Jalen Price, he's a big player in his own right. So I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, 6'5", like 235, that's a plenty big pass rusher for like where he's at right now. I bet he's someone we could add at least another 15 to, and at the college level, at least, like that'd be a pretty good spot. So I'm a fan of him as well. But yeah, like in terms of excitement, I think since he's someone that was kind of expected for a while, kind of got lost with Finn Walker. I think he committed the same day. But Jalen Price still deserves a lot of recognition too for being a really quality addition to this class. And man, like we just took a ton of defensive linemen for this class. So I'd imagine Jordan Peterson and Colin Klein are foreseeing a lot of competition for a defensive end, like some of the depth roles. And then on the interior, like probably about every spot will be open, I think, come next offseason. And frankly, they strike me as the sort of staff that's going to recruit the absolute best guys that they can get and just weed out like whoever whoever isn't keeping up, basically.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And there, of all the people in this class, I think that Jordan Dove Jordan Dove and Buddy White deserve the most flowers because this is the best defensive line class that K-State has ever had. I don't think it's particularly close. And it's the same way with Thad Ward, who, yes, I will hold another L because I was, for some reason, upset that he was coming back, and then I warmed up on it pretty quickly. I still can't really tell you why. And by that, I don't mean like I'm harboring some secret information. I mean, I literally don't know why that bothered me at the time. But there are two people that... Okay, there's only one person in this class that I think will get to campus and you literally cannot keep them off the field, and that's Joseph Graves. and he's still not my number one defensive lineman in this class. I don't think you can justify keeping Joseph Graves off the field as a true freshman. And that being said, I still prefer Anatoni Tahi's ceiling because people like him should not move in the way that he does. But you have all of these different skill sets across the defensive line, and you have a lot of competition. It would not surprise me if we did see something like a mass exodus of the defensive line from this year's current roster. Maybe not the transfers. So like Wendell Gregory is probably going to still have a spot. Elijah Hill is almost certainly still going to have a spot. But there are not a lot of guys who can hang with this current class. And it's not because they suck. It's because this class is really damn good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, this is a class that also it's probably going to go up. I bet a lot of these guys are going to see rankings increase. There's a few major candidates. We talked about Brooklyn Maxey a lot already, but Cedric Marsh is probably the biggest candidate, I think, for like a major increase in his rating. And I don't know just how high he'll go, but he's really just a 4-star, like, in my mind. Like, he's pretty close already, but like I really do consider him just to be a 4-star player. I think he's that good, and I don't really think it's something I'm going to split hairs with, because I think his highlight tape and his ability and his offer sheet are just so obviously better than how he's been evaluated that it's like, it doesn't really matter. But a lot of the other guys, I think, will see some bumps as well, depending on how their senior year goes. It's tough to estimate exactly who is going to be and how much of a bump they'll get, because, I mean, even the best evaluation sites, sometimes you see something kind of weird, like Lawson McGraw was a 4-star in 24/7, I think. And I don't dislike Lawson McGraw. I was just very surprised by that. But I don't know. There could be even more surprises still. And this is all we've talked a lot about these high school guys, but Jack Claiborne, he's a weird case where he's only got 1 grade, and his industry grade, since he only has the on-3 grade, is like an 83 point something, but it still has
83.6. Yeah,
but it still has,
because he's the best JUCO player in the country.
Because he's the number 1 JUCO guy in the country. But yeah, and the big thing with this class is that they're probably just about done. I mean, there are 26 players in this class, so they're probably only going to take, just like a best player available if like they shake some tree limbs and a 4-star falls off. Like, that's kind of what you're looking at, I think, is like is luxury ads at this point.
Yeah. There are so many people here that I think deserve a 4th star. The ones that I think probably get it, just going back to your point, is Heineck, Marsh, Maxey, Goggins, and Graves. I think will probably get a 4th star. If we're expanding to should get the 4th star, you're adding people like Tahi. Tahi should get the 4th star. He might not, but good Lord.
Tahi should be like a top 200 player in the country, man. I swear. I am shocked he is not more highly regarded. I am happy that he tweeted out the whole recruitment of shutdown thing. I mean, I know that means nothing ultimately, but like it doesn't, like, I mean, it's a pretty direct implication that he was being courted by other schools and we fended them off. And Drew Galloway on Bosco's Boys said a lot about this, but putting the class together this early in the modern era of college football, that does not mean that it is over, because there's a lot of defense to be played on keeping guys committed in the class, because we've already seen decommitments from Julian Elzy and Nazir Pitchford. We I guess technically saw a decommitment from Dwayne Jones, and then he recommitted a week
Sure.
later. So, like that's a great example of playing defense there, and Jordan Dove being worth his weight in gold as well. Uh, I really hope he is still on staff next year. I'm going to enjoy 1 year of Jordan Dove though. So
Yeah. Good lord. But the next thing we're done with like real life news, but the EA Sports College Football 27 roster came out, and because we're in the middle of the off season for content, we could call the episode. It's been 35 minutes. I just want to talk about the roster because I think it's interesting. The top rated player on the granted these are not official or final rosters. These are the league's rosters. The top player was Avery Johnson, who's an 88 overall. That surprised me. I did not think he was going to increase his overall from the previous season. Him being an 88, I think, is really cool, but I did not expect that. And then there are two of our three top defenders who are not going to be starters. Jason Pavard is the second highest rated, well, tied for the second highest rating player on the team with Garrett Oakley at 87. Wendell Gregory is an 85, and Caleb Patterson is an 83. Pavard's going to be like maybe our starting nickel, so you can give him that. Wendell Gregory is going to be a starting edge rusher. Caleb Patterson is not starting over Zayshawn Rich.
no, and I don't think he even starts over McIntosh. Honestly,
Probably not.
I mean, like, I'm glad that we have like high rated players because that inflates, even if only a minuscule amount, the like perception of our program. But I honestly, even when we got Caleb Patterson, he was one of like a couple of guys in the transfer class where I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. Like I think there's potential there. He's very fast, but I'm not sold on him yet. The one benefit, I guess, would be that he was at Illinois and Thad Ward had to deal with Caleb Patterson in practice. So maybe there's like some inside intel there on like I guess Patterson being better in like a different scheme or something. But like based off the film alone, and then also from just seeing Illinois fans online, kind of not be a huge fan of him. Which I'm sure some of that is just like they don't like when guys transfer, but like he also I think wasn't like one of their main defensive backs this year. He wasn't one of their starters, so I was surprised by that for sure.
Yeah. In terms of running backs, you kind of have three. You have three that are grouped up in the same area of Joe Jackson at 85, and then Rodney Fields and Jay Harris both at 81. Jay Harris is a contact seeker as his archetype is interesting, to say the least. And I think that Rodney Fields is disgustingly underrated in this. I think that he probably should be tied, if not a little ahead of Joe Jackson. And that's not Joe Jackson slander. You can check, you can run the tape. We have been Joe Jackson defenders since the very beginning of his commitment. You can run the tape back, but I mean, Rodney Fields is just good. Like he was the only competent he was one of two competent pieces on the Oklahoma State team last year. We have the other one too, and it's Wendell Gregory.
Yeah, like I'm not surprised by Rodney Fields being at an 81, but I really do think that he's deserving of the 85 that Joe Jackson has. And I think honestly, I think there's probably a lot of K-State fans that would be fine with Joe Jackson being a bit lower. Like maybe like him and Fields even trading. I don't think Jackson should be more than one below Fields though. And but overall, like I think Jackson's probably more of he's closer to being a traditional back, I think, than Fields might be, but Fields is still, I think, at least a borderline every down back. And I'm a huge fan of him. I think he was a major steal, honestly, from the portal. I think he got really glossed over because his raw stats are just not that great. But newsflash, there was not a single player on Oklahoma State's roster last year that had good raw stats. So
except for Wendell.
But even then, that's the advanced numbers that look good
Yeah.
for him is the pressures because he only had 4 sacks and 3 of them were in the first game.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
so like, I mean, I get what you're getting at though, like because there is still a number that like looks good for him at least, but Fields, like he was making the absolute most he could out of like one of the just most horrendous offensive lines I've seen like the last like 10 years in the Big 12. Now, to be fair, that is putting them just outside of catching the 2015 KU winless team. So at least I think they won. I think they were winless that year. But
I think they went winless like 2 years in a row, so you could pick one.
well, I know they did in 2020. And I think they did in 15 because we were not good that year and we still beat them by like 35 or 40. Like the fight, like Joe Huebner was running all over him. Like
Suka Joe boys.
Texas high school offensive coordinator, Joe Huebner.
The next category I want to sort of call attention to is the new guys or the people that were on the roster last year, whether they be true freshmen or returners from last year that finally got onto the roster. And then we'll do a little lottery segment where we look at the archetypes and like, what the hell are you talking about? But of the new guys that are new on the roster, Max Lovett, obviously true freshman. Navarro Shunky, my GOAT, is on the roster. Garrett Dixon, Tucker Ashford, Dalton Knapp is on the roster as well. Ackerson, Stanier, Mikey Bergeron, who I forgot existed, Nick McClellan, Chase Duarte is a transfer, Keaton Jones, Josiah Villamil, which I've been pronouncing wrong this entire time. Delvin Morris, Dylan Duff is new to the roster as well. Logan Bartley, thank God. And Ollie Miller kind of lead the new as in like true freshman or was on the roster last year and finally got added. So I mean I'm happy to see that. To me, the big one is Dylan Duff, but we can talk about him last because he's the perfect transition to the what the hell are you talking about with the archetypes.
Did they ever have Zayshawn Rich in last year? Because I don't think he was on the initial roster.
He was not. He got added halfway through the year, and he was rated below Justice Clemens.
Okay, so effectively not in the game then.
No.
But, okay, I was gonna say because I didn't play it as long or as far into the year last year, but I remember that really just throwing me for a loop in the like early release window where I was like, "There's not a Zayshawn Rich on this team, and there should be," and that really bugged me. But I'm glad they got it figured out.
I'm glad they added Bartley. To me, that Bartley and Navarro are like the two big ones. But we get to talk about Dylan Duff as well, the quarterback, because to me, he is the headliner of the what the hell are you talking about with the archetypes. For the uninitiated, I don't know why you'd still be listening if you're not familiar with the games, but you're still welcome here. The archetype system is basically telling you what kind of player the given player is. It determines what abilities they can have, and it determines a large part of their ratings. So, like, for example, quarterback, you have Avery Johnson is a backfield creator, which means he can improvise really well, and he has abilities that are based on improvisation. Blake Barnett is a dual threat quarterback, which means that he will run and pass just as often. Dylan Duff, the of all people, is rated as a pure runner, which, by the way, pure runners in both of the college football games have been awful. They've been borderline unplayable, and I think it is hilarious that Dylan Duff, who I think is a much better pocket passer, if there's a pocket passer on the roster, it's probably Dylan Duff. He gets the pure runner designation over the guy who literally played running back last year.
Yeah, I'm really not sure where they're getting that from because from his high school tape, I don't remember him being particularly fast.
He wasn't.
Like, I was gonna say, like, he wasn't immobile, but he had the ability to scramble if needed. Like, he wasn't a statue. But pure runner is just
that's
absurd.
crazy.
I do not know where that is coming from, and that is a little sad. I get there's like 12,000 players. You can't get like a perfect evaluation on all of them, but we can like at least be in the realm of possibility, I guess would be nice, instead of just kind of guessing. So I
It'd be a lot easier to swallow if console players could edit the archetypes. Now, I'm going to play on PC because it's finally coming out on PC. This doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'm editing the damn thing. But yeah, there are other highlights like John Pastore, who's a top five, nope, the number 6 player on the roster, who's listed as a raw strength left tackle. Afraid not. No, that's pass protector because that's his elite trait is pass protection. I don't trust him run blocking. Okay, he's not awful at it, but like to say that he is a player who bases his game on raw strength, are you sure? Are you sure?
yeah. I don't get where they're coming from with that either. Yeah, because like I mean, from the very beginning with John Pastore, you've always been sounding the alarm about his technique. And I'm looking at the words raw strength next to his name, and that just doesn't scream technique to me.
No.
So I'm struggling with that designation by Electronic Arts Sports. So.
And then they give Gus Hawkins pass protector, which I love Gus Hawkins. He is a decent pass protector. But if you're going to give anyone raw strength on the Keegan Collins isn't on the roster yet. If you're going to give anyone on this roster raw strength, Gus Hawkins is right there.
Yeah, or Keaton Jones is like that's
Jones is right there.
That's a good use of raw strength, and that's the one that he has. Like, and I completely agree with that. Like,
correct.
like that is the correct choice for Keaton Jones. Like, if anything, like his strength grade at 87 is like probably too low. That's honestly, too low. Like that should probably be honestly like in the mid 90s. Because I'm pretty sure he set some weight room records already as a redshirt freshman. But yeah, I guess that I can't really filibuster that anymore.
Larry Porter being a gadget player, I disagree with. I think he should probably be like contested. But Asa Newsom being listed as thumper is. Are we sure? Are we certain?
Yeah, I have no idea where that is coming from. Especially Asa Newsom has a 91 injury grade, which is the highest among the linebackers, other than Darian Whitaker, who also missed all of last season with an injury.
No.
So why is it that our two most injury-prone linebackers have the best injury grade? I'm struggling with that personally. I'd say I have questions, but frankly, I don't really want the answers on how they came to these conclusions.
The last of the are we sure about the archetypes to me is probably Navarro Shunky, who's listed as agile, should probably be pure power. The most disrespectful rating on this entire team belongs to Will Ancio. I don't know what Ancio did to a developer at EA, but he is rated at a 67 overall. He's rated below most of the He's rated below most of the generic players. He's not that bad. I don't know what the hell happened here. And then, of course, the lowest rated real player, Connor, you don't even have to look. You know who it is.
I haven't scrolled down, but I'm going to say that it is relative of NFL legend Ryan Howard.
That is correct. He is a 64 overall. He is tied with two placeholder players who actually never got taken off the roster last year in JJ McGregor and Basil Montrose. Shout out Basil Montrose for developing into a demon for no reason.
I was going to say, I thought that name seemed familiar, but I knew he wasn't a real person. But okay, like I'm glad we're on the same page there. Darian Whitaker being a 67, I get it, but like it's because he's like not like been on the field, but like he's like I think a dark horse to start this year. So that's another one that's gonna It's going to age really poorly, and it's not going to get updated till like week 10. So you all just get to deal with it.
Not if you're on PC.
Unless you are on PC. Oh, you want to know what the peak of disrespect for Will Ancio is, though? Because obviously the whole grade is awful for him. A 67 is just bad. But at tight end, the two long snappers on the team have a higher graded tight end, which is just like the catch-all position for long snappers because they don't feel like coding in a long snapper position for the game.
And they added it in Madden. They have not added it to college football.
If you're going to have the long snappers on the roster, then just put a long snapper position in. Like, don't do half measures is, like, I guess my policy on that. Like, I'm totally fine including the long snappers. I did a bit of long snapping, so I'm a little partial to it. But I'm almost positive that Will Ancio is a better tight end than Andrew Johnson and Jackson Duffield, another coup from Oklahoma State.
Yeah, there's a lot of okay with the roster as it's formulated, and there's no one in the country who's going to be fully satisfied with their team's roster. You said it earlier. There's like upwards of 12,000 players. It's just not possible. It's not feasible to make everyone happy, because making everyone happy, you're going to end up with some of the most inflated ratings ever. But I mean, there are some bad ones in there, and I'm going to say it. I love Avery Johnson. Like, as a player, he should not be an 88 overall.
Yeah, like, I think especially at the college level, when it comes to these grades, I think a lot of it is a popularity contest. Like, not even just well-known players, but even, I think, position groups. I think you're going to see some are just going to be more likely to get highly rated players. Like, I think a quarterback is more likely to get like a higher like base grade, I think, than really any other position. Like, even if there was some way to translate like quality of player between like positions, like, I think quarterbacks just, like, in terms of their ratings, get a little bit more benefit of the doubt in these games, it seems like. And Avery probably proves it. Now, again, I'm not mad that he has an 88 overall. I'm just a little bit surprised.
It's an interesting roster. I think it's best to leave it at that. I'm more interested to see what coaching skill sets they give the coaching staff. I have a feeling they'll probably just carry over what Klein's skill set was last year, which was architect. Yes, I do remember that for some reason. Jordan Peterson and Sean Gleason, I don't think were in the game last year. If I had to guess, Peterson probably going to be recruiter, because that's what Elko was.
Gleason will probably be like a strategist, then, I guess.
Maybe strategist. That's what Wells was last year, was strategist. Maybe just base motivator. I don't know.
I don't feel particularly motivated by Sean Gleason in his press conferences, so I'm going to say strategist. I think
either that or tactician, I guess.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Tactician might be a better way to put it. But ultimately, like, we don't know a lot about Sean Gleason. Like, we've learned at least a bit about Jordan Peterson just because he's a more tenured coach and he's been an amazing recruiter. Gleason might be a great recruiter, but it's been less obvious. But I'm very curious to see kind of like what starts to like trickle out about Gleason.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got. The game releases for early access. I'm not going to have this right here, but it is a little bit BS that console players are the only ones that get the 7-day early access. PC gets, I think, 3 days, so they get it on the 6th. The consoles get it on the 2nd of July. I was upset about it for all of 35 minutes, and then I'm like, you should be happy that the game is coming to PC at all, buddy. This is what you've been begging for 2 years. But that's all I got. Do you have any final notes?
Shout out to the men's track team for finishing 8th at track nationals, and Tachikomba for being the national field event athlete of the year.
Yep. But thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdward00.
I am at Connor Baltzor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store. Link found in our podcast and Twitter bios. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. We'll come rain, shine, or anything between. We're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.